This is our Divco Lightning, and Aaron was supposed to meet me here today to show me what we had done to it. Oh, hello there.
Welcome inside.
So we have had this truck for about, what, 10 years now?
It is actually, yeah, 10-year anniversary.
Oh, very nice. Well, we gave it a big gift this year.
Yes, absolutely.
We put new tires on it.
And a little bit more than that.
A little bit more than that.
If we paid that much for tires, then we got to talk about where you're buying tires from, okay?
Well, these are white walls. You can't just get them anywhere.
You can get these anywhere, but the rest of this stuff that happened to this truck, you cannot get just anywhere. Right. You need to go to the right shop. Somebody who really knows what they're doing, and Iron Horse is just that. They did a fantastic job on the inside.
These guys love this thing. Now, I've not really seen the inside yet. What it originally went in for was new tires and then a new transmission. Our transmission was slipping something fierce, and it was time. It was our second transmission, and man, it didn't even shift right.
But at least it didn't go out on the road like it did the first time.
Like it did the first time, complete with flames.
We'll tell you about that story another time.
Complete with flames and everything. So this is a 1955 Divco Milktruck. Now, the original Divcos had 4 or 6 cylinder motors in them. This one came on the original chassis, but we took it right off of there originally and put it on a 1994 Ford Lightning chassis.
The F-150 Lightning came with a 351 Windsor with an E4OD automatic transmission, and it was a limited production vehicle. They only made about 4,000 or so of the Ford Lightnings in the first generation, and we found one because this Divco engine, 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders, we restored that thing. We got a top speed of 35 miles an hour.
And we built this to travel.
Yes, this one is built for the road.
We have driven this to California, Colorado, Missouri, and all places in between. Kansas, all places in between.
Driven it through tornadoes and dust storms.
Yes, and monsoons. It's been a crazy ride with this car. So when you start with a hot rod shop, there's lots of, well, we could just do this too. And we got subject to some of that on this build, but I think it all turned out really well. I'm just seeing out of the corner of my eye what's happening. Where should we start, with the inside or with the outside?
I guess let's go ahead and start on the outside.
Okay.
All right, because if you remember, the original Divco had dual exhausts, but
no, it had a 2-into-1 exhaust.
There we go, exactly. It had 2 tips, but they both came out the same place. We had the cat eyes on the other side, but here on the Divco 2.0, we have true duals. We got dual exhaust coming out each side of the back behind the fender. New tips on there. I think it looks great. And
it sounds better too.
Yeah.
Now, I know that we did something else special. We'll save it towards the end of the video for what sounds even better than that. But Aaron, show me what's going on the inside. There is a lot. I'm going to pop around to the other side so you can talk to me.
There is a lot, and I can't really show you from right here. You'd have to really get down underneath it, so I'm going to spare you the indignity of me having to crawl all over this thing to point it out. But we do have a lot going on here. So the dash is really the biggest thing. This is an all-new dash. This is very well done. It's two-toned. I've got some red and white here, which is absolutely fantastic. We took out the old instrument cluster. We had the original F-150 instrument cluster, and the Lightning did not have anything special to it. It was your standard Ford instrument cluster. So we removed that, and there was not good lighting on that at all. If you were driving at night, your best bet to be able to see your speedometer was to put your flashlight on your cell phone and just lay it on the dash. So that was how it was. It is much better now. We've got, you know, the digital / analog dash in here. It looks fantastic, lights up great.
Now this is an F-150 Dakota digital dash.
Exactly, and so it's got a couple of displays that you can move around and you can alter what you're looking at there. Next, staying in the driver's purvey would be, of course, the steering wheel. This is fantastic. We originally used not the original Divco steering wheel, but just a 40s Ford steering wheel, I think?
We actually had the original Divco steering wheel. We found a different one, and what we did is we just took the horn button off the 40s Ford and stuck it on the Divco. Now, one of the other things we have going on here is a new tilting steering column along with this banjo wheel. Now, what we learned is we took this apart, that our original steering column was not, strictly speaking, attached to the car very well. There was a collar that was supposed to be around it that had a bolt that held it together, and apparently that really wasn't put together very well. We were operating on friction for many, many years.
But we survived, so that goes to show just a little bit of confidence and a little bit of stupidity can take you a long way.
It's what you know that will kill you.
Exactly. So the steering wheel was awesome. The tilt steering, you know, certainly everything looks fantastic. Even the leather wrap steering wheel, I thought was a very nice touch to match the leather from the seats. Now these seats are the original Divco seats. They have been reupholstered, of course. Most Divcos, because it was a delivery truck and you would only have one delivery driver, would not have 2 seats in them.
That's right.
And many Divco seats look like nothing more than a milk crate with one edge of it broken off so that you can sit in it. Because this is the original floor from the Divco here. We had to build it obviously up here so we could house the transmission, but these seats were originally much taller and they swung out of the way so you could stand in the doorway, and it had a hand throttle so you could determine what speed it is. And if you got the newer truck, it would have a stickier hand throttle so you could leave it on just above idle so you could grab your milk, hop out of the truck, deliver it to one house, and go back to the truck, hop in, and keep your route going. Now, could you imagine this thing just rolling down the street on its own? That would be crazy.
Nobody really parked on the curb then. Every house had one car. So some of the other things that happened in here, we have our new doghouse. So the original doghouse, and if you look back on some of our old videos, you can see some of this stuff. It was vinyl, and it came out to about here. There was a hole in there so you could see the motor, but Tim did a great job of building one with actually cup holders. Our cup holder in the past came off of a boat. It was just a cage that we actually found in a hot rod show and bolted to one of the existing bolts. So we painted all this. It looks great. Now, we have a new radio. We have a couple of power ports here that are, this one is hooked up so that when we're at a car show, we always are able to charge our phones. New glove box, which is pretty fancy. I like that quite a bit. And then we have our switches, because any cool car should have a lot of switches in it, like an airplane, and our milk truck is the same. So we have this switch, which is our driver's side air conditioning. We have this switch here, which is our headlights. This switch is this is my favorite new thing, our reverse camera. So we also have a front camera, which is taking a second to fire up. There it goes.
The internet is slow here.
Well,
you can't really see that very well, but trust me, there's nothing in front of us.
Right.
Nothing
and we also
to
have
see
a front
here.
camera. Here we've got a spare switch. Here we have our disco lights. So if we want lights in here, we have them so we can, I don't know, enjoy ourselves on a cruise. Overhead lights so we can finally see inside. Now these haven't worked for the entire time we've owned this. I think we turned them on once and then it never came on again. And then finally we have our other side air conditioning here. These guys did such a fantastic job. They installed the stereo so we can actually have maps, see where we're going, and not have to shout at one another. They built all of these panels for the speakers and the sides here. This was so different when we sent it over to them, and they really finished it out really well. The original dash pod was just here. Everything else was kind of blank space through here. Now, Aaron is sitting in one of my favorite additions to this car.
Now, this has always been a hot rod, and like a true hot rod, it had 2 seats,
right,
and all of the original guts ripped out of it.
Right.
So the guts are still gone, but we did have to add a couple of seats, which I think will be nice. You know, my kids are getting older. I'd like to endanger their lives a little bit more by putting them into this milk truck.
And if you see us out at a car show and we're going for a cruise, holler at us. We'll take you along after you sign the waiver. So I'm happy with how this turned out. I think it's just fantastic.
Now, there is another feature that they did on the inside. Well, a couple of them here. You know, we've got our emergency brake back, which is nice because it's...
Back, we never had it.
But it's never really worked very well.
We've taken this car to many NSRA shows, and they do a safety inspection at the NSRA. We've never been able to pass because our emergency brake has been vestigial for a decade.
We can finally pass inspection with this thing.
Right.
That's fantastic. So there is another, I think, really great feature that we ended up with throughout this build. And so let me show you what that is. Of course, you know that this Divco was only built to go 35 miles an hour. I imagine I wasn't alive in 1955, but I imagine there were not a lot of highways in 1955.
No, they were building them.
Exactly. So this thing was never meant to go highway speeds. As such, when we put a big V8 in it and we began to go highway speeds, we discovered that the doors would get sucked open because they weren't closing all the way and prepared to be shut. So that's a problem, and really it's an engineering problem. And Iron Horse was able to finally fix that for us. So go ahead and shut your door.
Okay, well, we have inside handles too.
We've got inside handles.
Oh, and look at that.
So if we do go off the mountain, you got something to grab onto.
While you scream?
Yeah. But so you pull this one shut, and this one is shut.
And this one has a little latch. We lock it up, and then we're locked in.
Yeah, so in theory, they should stay shut. In practice, we'll still have to find out. Now, originally, before we had this, in order to solve our problem, if we needed to drive on the highway and we needed to go 70 miles an hour, the only way we could do it is to padlock the outside of the driver's side door.
And the inside of the passenger side door.
So then we would be locked in. We could get out so long as when we rolled over, the passenger could still find the keys. Luckily, we never had to find that out, but now it's a little more, let's say, practical.
There you go. So we need to take it for a spin because I've not driven it yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but before
Lord
we do
knows
that,
I have.
Before we do that, we need to show them the last feature that we had installed here. So let's step outside so they can get that effect.
All right.
Now we're going to show you our final thing we put in here. And there's a lot of little things. They cleaned out a bunch of trash. They hooked things up so it ran a little bit better. But this is my favorite part of it. Aaron, go ahead and fire this thing up. Sounds good. That's a nice sounding exhaust. It's a reasonable exhaust. Aaron, hit the bad neighbor button. So we put electric cutouts in our V8 powered milk truck. Give it a rack. Now we're going to take you for a ride. Let's go. Man, this drives great. Let's get on the street, but I have some thoughts, I think. All right, first, I got to be a hoodlum.
Try not to do one of those, coffee style burnout.
Okay, worth every bit of it. But my first thought is this steering wheel feels tiny.
Oh yeah, it does.
Well, the original steering wheel was built for a giant truck that had no power steering, so it had to be this big.
Yeah.
This is for a normal car, and man, this is it feels awesome, but it's small. So one of the things we had to do with this truck, this is our third transmission. We had to build an F250 transmission in order to haul the extra weight of the milk truck body around. Our first two did not last as long as they should have.
Second gear. Second gear.
Okay. We should probably bring that down a little bit if we can adjust it. Can you adjust it?
Yeah, this allows us to adjust the shift points.
Okay.
I don't know exactly how yet.
Well, perhaps we shouldn't mess with it until we know how.
Oh no, I'm gonna mess with it.
Hey, never mind this milk truck that's coming through.
Right? Yeah.
Ah!
I think it's staring into it.
That's awesome. I think I need that on my Jaguar.
Good thing I got these seatbelts. I'd be flying out of this truck.
I know. These seats are really comfortable. He did a good job redoing it. Now the jump seats are removable. So if we don't need those in there, we can just pop those out. Wow, this thing is something else. This drives so much better than it has.
Absolutely it does. It got very frightening to drive towards
the end.
before we got it fixed up.
Well, I think we actually had video of the last time we drove it because we took it out to Good Guys and Grayson was with us.
Oh.
And we had bad tires on it.
Oh, that's right. That was frightening. That was
so scary. Because we had these tires on for probably what? 9 years?
Oh no, they didn't last that long.
Were they the second set?
Yeah, they were the second set.
Well, probably 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, longer than they should have been for sure. Probably 2 years longer than they should have been. This thing eats tires pretty good.
Right. Here we go.
Second gear 40.
And that was 4,500 RPM.
Third gear 60.
It shifts at 4,500 RPM. So, you know what I find out about this truck? What?
What's that? What do you find out about this truck?
It's loud. You can't see out of it. For all intents and purposes, we have a Lamborghini here.
Well, pull over here.
Okay.
And I want to mess with this for a second.
All right.
I do remember them telling me that there are some different tunes that are programmed in here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So tell the folks what you're doing here.
I have literally no idea. But I'm gonna play around with it, check it out, and look at the instructions. But we got a quick Shift 4 Gen 2 from usshift.com. So we're gonna play around with it and see what kind of fun we can have with it. But it mounts up here underneath the dash on this Velcro.
Okay.
Does seem like they're idling a little high now.
Seems like it.
May have overdone it. Why don't we shut it down so that they can actually hear us talk?
Oh, I love it. It's
Absolutely
fantastic.
fun, isn't it?
It is.
That was my sentiment driving it as well.
What an amazing job. So we've got to get it on the road again.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do some road trips.
Look for us on the road next year.
And also look for these shirts on our store.
Link down below. We have a couple different shirts, and if you want a Divco Lightning shirt, one of a kind, let us know down below.
Yeah, I think this is going to be awesome on the road. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a much more comfortable ride than we have had on our previous road trips.
I would agree.
You should check it out for the passenger seat.
Why?
Like right now, because I want to drive. Now the seat belts on this thing are just probably one step better than novelty. I don't know that they're really going to save your life in a crash, but they'll at least make sure that they can identify the body, because some part of you will be attached to the truck.
Right, to the seat.
Yeah, like your legs mostly. Like we put on our first billboard for this truck, it is safe as milk.
This has been the coolest truck since we built it. We just increased that by 100-fold.
I remember back when we had motorcycles and I had that Victory that had a really loud exhaust, cruising through Highland Park and setting off car alarms left and right.
Oh yeah.
I think this is going to do worse. I mean, this truck is a blast to drive, somewhat from a performance perspective, but really from the reaction that you get from people. The kind of reaction that people have to this truck driving down the road is just a lot of fun. It's like driving in a parade everywhere you go. So it's always been a lot of fun. We want to show you some of those reactions that we get. So look for more videos. Make sure you subscribe to get notified. We're gonna put more videos up and you can really see what it's like to drive into a show with this truck, or really to drive to McDonald's or anywhere you go.
Now, one of the more interesting things about this truck and reactions is that there are a fair amount of people that aren't completely oblivious to it. So that is one of the most fascinating things for me, because it's 8.5 feet tall, 15 feet long, painted like a clown car, and they just don't see it. So make sure you're paying attention when you drive. And this rear seat ride is something else. This is a golf place. Open the exhaust. Oh wow. I need a handle. Hit it.
Once the golfers saw what was driving, they didn't know whether to be mad or excited. All right, we're gonna pull over so that we can get some drive-by shots for you guys.
So he's gonna do a couple drive-bys now so we can hear it with the exhaust open from the outside. So I'm curious if people can continue to be oblivious to this truck with the way that it sounds now. Now the great thing is that we got this truck back just in time for the nicer weather. I'll admit that during the summer this is not my favorite thing to drive around. It is, the only AC are those fans that I showed you originally. Okay, here he comes. All right, it sounds awesome inside. It sounds even better outside. What a ridiculous hoodlum-mobile. Oh, I'm so happy. What amazing, amazing sound. So you guys all more or less know us as Porsche guys, but this is my first love. I'm a hot rodder through and through, and I love the sound of a V8. Even more, I love the sound of a V8 with basically open headers. This thing is fantastic. I'm so happy that what we did turned out so well. So I'm hoping I can get him to come pick me up, and then we'll head back to the garage and wrap up the video. I've had a horn for a long time. We also haven't had the horn for years, I guess, either.
No, it's in
the right place.
The logical place. What a logical place to put a horn. I don't think the computer knows how to deal with these cutouts just yet.
No, not quite.
I don't think the neighbors do either.
I know my neighborhood doesn't love it. That's the Divco Lightning milk truck. If you see us around Dallas, say hello and be sure and subscribe.
Come back and see all the videos that we're going to make of this and all of our adventures in it.
Buy a t-shirt, would you? See you next time.